Hello. Today I'm going to be doing a two-part tutorial on how to knit. Okay, so story time. One afternoon in one of the many lockdowns we've had, I got some wooden chopsticks and some wool, and I searched up how to knit on YouTube. And I learnt to knit, and now I like doing it every once in a while. So I thought, even though there are loads of videos out there already, I might pass on that little bit of knowledge that I have in this two-part video. So the not ingredients, we're not cooking. The things you're going to need to do this is very simple. It's wool of any colour or sort, and some needles. And mine are quite long, and they're made out of bamboo, which is like a very good quality thing to use. But you can use wooden skewers. It really doesn't matter. It just has to be some long sort of stick. So yeah, let me get prepared. Then I'll be back, and we can start. So how to knit? The way you start is you have your end of the wool, and you just make a circle like that. It's not a perfect circle. It just sort of needs to be a gap. And then you get the tail of the wool and you put it through, and this is called a slip knot, and it's actually a proper knot, but this is actually the way that you start how to knit. So yeah, you keep on pulling it on the side that's still connected to the ball of wool, so that this tail doesn't get lost. And you don't want the tail to be too long, but if it is quite long, you can always cut it off at the end, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. The next thing you do is you get a knitting needle, only one, and you slip the slip knot on, and you get the tail of the wool, and you just pull until it's slightly tight so that it hangs on, but there's still enough space that you could probably fit another knitting needle in there. So yes, once you've done that, what you need to do is you need to keep it quite close to the end, and what I do, because I find it quite easy, I put my thumb underneath the wool and my index finger on top, and I just twist it around like that, and then I slip it on there, and I sort of make it the same the same size as the slip knot. And then I do that again, so that put that underneath, put that on top, and twist. So I keep on doing that until I've got it depends what you want to make or if you're just practicing. But I'm going to put 8 different, so I've already got 4, and that's half. And I'm just going to do a little thing of 8. It's going to be really small because I'm only teaching. So I'm going to keep on doing that and just making sure I've got all of the right amount of wool. But by the way, if you want to make something a different size, like if you want to make a scarf or a hat, you're going to need to use a different video, or you're just going to have to do more different rungs of knitting. So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think. I don't mind. I'm just teaching you guys, so I don't have to have a set number. But what you do now, so the actual knitting part, you get it, so you had it like this before, and then you just turn it over like that and flip it so that you can see this bottom bit here, this little line, so that it's coming forwards. And then what you do is you get this knitting needle, and you have this little loop here, and you slip it through so that there are 2 knitting needles in it now, and you put it behind, and it always has to be behind. This needle always has to be behind, making an X. And then what you do, once you've got that X, you get this wool and you wrap it through. So let me do that again. You get the wool and you go round this one, you go round the back one, so that you've got 2 different sections of the same circle. And then you put it through. So let me do that one more time. You have it through the middle, and then you put it over the string, and you bring it over the top. That is how you knit. So I'm just going to keep on doing that, still quite slowly, so that you can keep on watching. And yeah, that is basically how you knit it. knitting for about 5 minutes, and this is what I have. It's very small, but I mean, I'm only teaching you, as I've said many times before, so it doesn't really have to be a set size. This is the pattern that Knitting Simply makes. There are a lot of other stitches that you can do, and who knows, maybe I'll make a tutorial on how to do different stitches soon. But this is the first stitch, and it looks the same on both sides, but the tail sort of sticks out. But that doesn't really interfere with anything. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my other knitting needle, and I am going to show you a very, very easy mistake that a lot of people make. So what you can do is you can keep on knitting, and maybe you're knitting in a car or something, and it's a bit of a bumpy road. I would suggest that you don't do this, but if you're bored and you want to, it does work. Oh, I just hit my camera. So when you're knitting, what you might do by accident sometimes is, say you're on a bumpy road and there's a bump, and then by accident you get a stitch and you're about to do it, but then it just falls off like that just fell off. What you can do is you can either try and find it again if that's possible, but if not, see, I've lost mine now. If not, what will happen is, wait, I'm just going to go get something. What will happen if you lose a stitch is something like this. So this was one of my first times knitting, and when you drop a stitch, that's what the correct term is. If you drop a stitch and you haven't recovered it or you can't find it, you will get a hole. I did some knitting recently and I dropped a stitch because I was in a car on a bumpy road. And the best thing to do is, if you're lucky, it will only be a small hole. So if you haven't recovered it, I wouldn't be that bothered about it. But the worst thing that you can possibly do to it is to try and fiddle with it. Because if you fiddle with it, you'll end up getting this very messy knot along the top, and that's not what you want. So you might get a little hole, but it's only practice and you can always start again. And that's the main mistake that many people make. I haven't come across many other mistakes, but oh my gosh, I literally just bumped my camera. I haven't come across many other mistakes, but that is by far the worst one that you can make and the only one that you really need to know about. So yeah, I'm going to finish this row, and then I'm going to do another row so that you can see the hole. And it's not that big of a hole, so generally it's nothing to be worried about. But if you do want to make it for someone, or if you want it to be nice and perfect, then I would recommend starting again. Another thing that you can do with knitting, that I don't like to do it very much, but if I make a mistake, I do, is, I'm not going to show you this, but if you have made some knitting and say you dropped a stitch and you're quite mad at yourself and you want to start again, I'm not going to show you, but what you can do is you can just slip it off and then unravel it, and it just unravels, it comes apart. So that's another thing to be careful about, but it can also come to your advantage if you've made a mistake, like that little hole there, and you just want to start again. So yeah, I'm gonna do one more row of knitting, and then I'm gonna show you what I've got because of my dropped stitch. So yeah. So that is the end of part 1, how to knit. In the next video, I'm going to be teaching you how you can end your knitting and how to purl. But you don't know what that is now, so I'm not going to teach you now. But after 5 minutes of simple knitting, if you have the patience, which I think knitting is actually a really good skill to learn if you don't have much patience, then you can complete something like this in 10 minutes. And it's really simple. You can make really cute things like scarves or hats or gifts for someone, and it's just really quick and simple. So maybe you've learned how to knit today. Maybe you just wanted to watch something and you happened to come to me for some entertainment. But if you have learned to knit, just keep on going, because even though I have no patience whatsoever, but knitting has sort of helped me gather a little bit more of myself. It's quite calming. It's just nice. So come back for part 2 when I'm going to be teaching you how to purl and end your knitting. See you next time. Bye.